All right, and we're back, and it's COMP228, Java Programming, Lesson 1, Part 5. And we're live on Hangouts. So let's see what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about the next part of our presentation. I'm trying to make this a little bigger for you without killing the presentation here. Let's see if I can do that. This one is a little bit more meaty. It talks really about some stuff that we're going to be doing. I'm going to skip over some things we've already done in C#, right? So we should be able to finish on time. One of the things that I want to skip over are the notions of arithmetic operators. Like we already know about precedence and all that kind of stuff, even so far as decision-making statements. I'm not going to talk about you know, equals and greater than and equal and all that kind of stuff. You should know all that stuff from your days at C#, right? So I think we're good like that. Let us, however, talk about other things. And one of the things I want to talk about is, let's go skip down here into this idea of a Java application. We talked about how this, I already talked about how this is encapsulated. The idea of like this welcome app as an example is, and I'm saying app because it's a quick way of saying application, not that it's an app as in a Android app. Please don't think of that. Those are two different things. So this Java app here is this welcome. And then we have the system.out.println that we were using before that allows us to output this string literal to the console, which is welcome to Java, right? Comments are done the exact same way as they're done in C#, as well as JavaScript, as well as in other C-influenced languages. I'm not going to go into that. The use of blank lines and white space, it's ignored by the browser and by the compiler. They're ignored. Be careful though, you don't, I mean, the one thing you do need is the semicolon. The semicolon, what it does is it tells Java when the command is terminated, right? So you need the semicolon. That's the most common syntax error across all C-influenced languages. So please remember to put a semicolon at the end of your line. The file name and what it looks like is it ends in with the java.java. And if I was to skip back into Eclipse for a second to see what it looks like, and if I was to look at lesson 1, COMP228 lesson 1, and if I go into my source code and into my Hello World Java, you see that it's got a Java extension, .java, right? So that's what it looks like here, right? So this little useless program that we made to say Hello World, right? That's how it terminates. Class names and variable names, there's different conventions. Typically what we want to do for class names is we want to use something called upper camel case, right? So it's both parts of the word are in caps, all right? Whereas when we use methods, depending on the language, in C#, methods are capitalized many times. But typically what they are is you have the first character that is lowercase and the second word is uppercase or camel case. Camel case is different than upper camel case in that upper camel case, every word is capitalized. Whereas camel case, only the second word and on are capitalized. All right, so just different conventions. One other thing I want to mention is what I'd like to try and do with you as well. I want to use underscores when it comes to private variables. Now, we did this when we were together in C#. If you guys did C# with me, I used underscores for private variables. I want to do the same thing when I do variables here in Java. So when you see underscore in my variable name, you know automatically it's a private variable, as opposed to a public variable or protected variable or whatever, right? Okay, again, when we use left brace and right brace, it creates a code block for us, just like in C#. I'm not going to go into too much detail there. And one of the things we need to have this public static void main method, if you will, at the beginning of all of our programs, a main class that runs all the other commands through Java. Right, so just like we do in C#, we have a main program, if you will. This is the main program that we've created here for Java. We can have other classes for our Java program, but they all kick off here from this main program. All right, we have almost like a starting location for everything else to kick off. This static program here, this static main method, never has to be instantiated because it's a static method. Static methods can be used without instantiation. Okay, it's part of the class, but we don't need to create an object. Okay, so something to note. All right, so as we move forward, we use this statement, this system.out.println, to output a field. This is called a statement, and this is inside of our body, right? I'm not going to go too much into that. All right. So again, the system.out is an object, and then system.out.println is a method of the object, the out object, if you will. System is the namespace, right? Okay, so system is the namespace, out is the object, println is the method. Okay, and this is a static method that we're using that's built into this to Java. Okay. All right, let's go back to when we looked at our first program. We have our system.out.println. We did this already when we did our print and println, and we used an escape character to create a \n. There's also other \ characters. You can always look them up. They're the exact same ones that exist in C#. Other escape sequences you can use. Okay. Here's one that's a little different, and we want to try it in Eclipse with us. There's something called printf, okay, which is a little different. Actually, printf is a throwback from C, the original C language, right? If you ever program in C, printf is the way we used to do it in C, and print means it's a formatted print as opposed to an unformatted print like we did with println, right? So think about this. I can use a formatter, if you will, like %s for string as a placeholder to use string interpolation, right? When I say string interpolation, I'm saying I can almost use it as a placeholder where the string is going to appear, right, with the %. And there's different kinds of ways of identifying. If I put %d, that's a decimal, and so on. So this allows me to format my output on the console. Great for console, and we're going to do a little bit of that. Here's some examples of this, where I have %s, %n, %s, %n. Is that correct? Right? Think about what it's doing there. What does %n do anyway? Is it a number? And let's look at the output. We've got welcome to Java programming. So, and then if you notice it says, if we try this out, system.out.printf, let's see what happens. All right, so I'm going to try and go and do that. So here's system.out.print, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this and start typing again. Do it with me so you get used to it. So I say system. Now here's the thing with Eclipse. If I press the dot, right, it automatically should pop up with this little suggestion, right? System.out, dot. And now I should have an additional dot. If I press Control and space, right, with my dot, it should show me suggestions of what it could do. Here's something that I'm looking for. I'm looking for printf. So I'm going to start typing the first letters. Here's printf. There's two different signatures for the method, the static method, printf. There's one that's the first one, and there's also the second one. Let's use the first one. So I'm going to double click. Now, if you notice, there's the format and the arguments, right? The first is the string format. So I'm going to kind of put in a string literal, right? So again, this would be the format, right? So I would put in something like this, %s, I said %n, %s, and then %n, right? Let's check it out. And then the arguments. The arguments could be two string literals like hello and then world, separated by commas, right? And then, of course, we need a semicolon. Now, if this works right, what we should get is, actually, let me tell you, tell me what you're going to get, Fahim. Tell me. Hello world. But is there going to be a space between hello and world?
No.
How about now? How about if I, but what will it do? Is there a new line between hello and world? Let's try it out. Hello world, right? Well, let's try that out. Let's put \n instead. Let's see if it does this as well. If I go \n, can I do that with a formatting sequence? I'm going to try it out anyway. All right, let's just try it out and see what happens. Hello world, right? Both ways work. Again, this is our formatting sequence. These are our arguments. Okay, so printf allows us to take in two or more arguments or one or more arguments, and allows us to interpolate. That's what it's called. String interpolation. Takes the argument and pops it into the placeholder, wherever the placeholder is. So hello is going to go into the first placeholder, and world is going to go to where the second placeholder is. String interpolation is what it's called. Proper name. All right, let's go back. So that's what we did with system.out.printf. Integers. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about integers. How do we declare variables anyway, right? Here's something we've never seen before. When we do stuff in C#, how do we declare variables in C#? Do we declare the variable type first and then the variable name?
Yeah.
Same thing here, right? The difference is that in C# is int lowercase or caps or capitalized? You don't know?
No.
Is it lowercase for int? For C#? Okay. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Test it. See if it's true. Go to Visual Studio and tell me if int is a lowercase or uppercase in C#.
Oh, great. Yes, lowercase. Yeah.
Okay, good. How about this? What's this scanner thing here? This is weird. What's this scanner? Am I going to scan your brain with it? What is it? It's a class, and input is the object. And with the new keyword, I'm making a new, instantiating a new scanner object, and I'm passing in the system.in object, which is my keyboard, my input object, my keyboard, which is the default input object. It's going to be my input instance variable. The object of my scanner class is going to be listening for keyboard input, right? That's how we do input from the keyboard, right? So if I want to say, please enter your name, I will do that with a scanner. Let's try that. So I'm going to try, instead of hello world, let's do a system, again, from scratch, system.out.println, enter your name, right? And then the next line, we want to create this scanner. Now there's a couple ways to do this. We could create the scanner first. Let's do that over here. So we define a scanner object. So we'll say scanner, and we'll call this inputs, just like it shows, which is equal to a new scanner object that takes the system.in, a static object, right? Here's something that's happening here. Look, I'm getting a weird error, and it's saying, hey, I got a problem. What's my problem?
Because you need to import it.
You don't have to do anything, because you know what? Eclipse will do it for you. It tells you what the problem is. If I hang over here, it says, use this import statement. That's a quick fix. If I click onto this, it adds in the import statement, Java util scanner. Hold on. What is this import statement, and what am I doing here? Right? The import statement in Java is equivalent to the using statement in C#. When I want to use a class, I use the using statement. Not all classes are included in my standard Java package. Same thing with here. I'm going to import my java.util.scanner class and a series of modules, if you will, so I can use this scanner as an input. Okay, so that's one thing I need to do. So I've got my input, but if you notice, I get this yellow flag that says, hey, my input isn't being used. That's just a yellow flag, right? And it gives you some suggestions for a quick fix, right? Don't use those, right? Because it's just suggesting. Okay, so how do I get input from the screen? Do I get it now, automatically, right now? Is it asking for input, or do I have to do it somewhere else? Like, see, I'm asking for it. Am I listening already? Up here, let's try it out. Enter your name, right? Well, can I enter my name? Well, no, right? Enter my name is gone. It doesn't do anything for me. It's not listening for anything right now. All it does is put me right here. And if you notice, it doesn't return me to the next line, right? It's supposed to be down here, right? So what's the next step for me to make my input happen, right? What do you mean?
Input.next.
Oh, there's the next step. Let's follow the process here so we can look what it says here. So here's this system.out.print, enter your name, and then number is equal to input.nextInt, next integer. I'm listening for a number. But that's not the other thing I can do. I don't have to just listen for integers, right? Can I listen for anything? Okay, let's take a look at that. So and I say number 1 is equal to, I'm going to put it inside a variable, right? I want to capture it somewhere, right? Well, what if I want to capture my name? It's not an integer, it's a string, right? So do I have to declare it somewhere, like as a string? Well, yeah, maybe I do. So can I just go string lowercase? Okay, how about string uppercase? Does that work? That looks like it works. String my name, right? And let's initialize it with a an empty string, right? So we know it's an empty string. It's not being used right now, so we're going to say then my name, right, is equal to input. If I just say input, is that enough? If I go input dot next, how about just next?
Next line.
Yeah, next one.
See all the different signatures that I'm getting? Let's try next line. Okay, if I go input dot next line, which is my name, now let's print out, your name is, right? So we'll go system dot out dot println, and we'll say your name is with a, and then we'll use the, you know what? We'll say, and we'll add in there whatever the well, now can I do plus? Can I do one of these? Can I go plus like I do with JavaScript, right? Yeah. Let's go plus my name. Can I do that? But yeah, I can. And let's see if that's going to give me an error, right? All right, so let's see what that does for us. I'm going to run it. Enter your name, right? Ask me for a name. I'll say Tom. Enter. Your name is Tom. But this didn't do what I wanted to do. See, you guys said go to next line, right? What if I just want to do next? Or should I have used a system.out.print? Let's try this again. Let's try that. Let's see what that does. Let's say run it, right? Here's my name. I go back down here. I say Tom. That's better, right? With green. And then now my name is Tom, right? So system.out.print doesn't take me to the next line. Ask me for an input, which is right here, and then it takes that input and concatenates it to the end of my string literal, right, and outputs it to the console. Are you guys good about this stuff down there in the corner? So I want you guys to try this out, because on the test, you're gonna have to know how to do this really, really quickly. So please don't just watch. Do the stuff on Eclipse, because it'll be good training for you to remember, right?
Sir.
Yeah.
Is there some way of using the instead of plus? So you put down system.out stuff.
I could. How about if I did? Huh? I could use printf, right? Yeah, let's do printf. So if I do printf, right? Could I go? Your name is %s, right? And I can go comma. Could I do that? Right? That's another way I could do it. We just learned that. Let me just run that thing and see what happens. Your name, enter your name Tom, and then your name is Tom. Same thing. So I'm using printf instead of println, right? I think it's a nicer solution, right? And it gives you some good string interpolation as opposed to concatenation. There's two different things I was doing there. One smashes those two things together, the string literal, right? And the output from my string variable, which is good and bad. It does some implicit conversion, right? Which is good and bad. And the other way is to do this to signify that I'm going to interpolate this variable, the output from my variable my name, into the string literal your name is, where I have that placeholder. Okay, so very, very high level stuff. We know how to input and output from the console, right? And that's really quickly we did that, right? Okay, let's go to the next level. We did the import declarations. We just did it. We couldn't do the scanner unless we did the import because it wasn't part of our standard Java class library, right? That's why we need to do the import. And the scanner itself, this is the variable declaration statement. We use the new keyword, right, in order for us to declare or to create our instance variable, the input, right? That's what we did there, okay? And again, just for those people who've never seen scanner before, the scanner class, again, enables the program to read data. There's different ways, there's different places to read data from. In our particular case, we've instantiated the scanner object as from our standard input. We could also use other sources of input. What other sources could we use the scanner object with? Do we have to just use it with the keyboard? Could it be something else? We're going to explore that in the future. Okay. Again, if you notice the integer, we declare variables, they're the same way. JavaScript and Java in general are both, just like C#, are case sensitive. So you have to make sure that the variable names are all different. Otherwise, what ends up happening for Java and for JavaScript and for C# is you get some conflicts. You want to make sure your names are original, just like for those languages. Here's something. When we use this java.lang to create our class, right, as an example, this is our the package, if you will. We created our project. We created this package at a very high level, almost like this namespace, right? We're going to talk about packages later on and how we can split up our files to be in different packages. Okay. We also used, in this particular case, in the books example or in the PowerPoint example, we're polling for the next integer, right? But there's lots of things we can use the scanner method to look for. I looked for a string. So it's very, very flexible. What other kinds of things could it ask for? How about floats? Could it ask for that? Let's try that out. So if I said, instead of my input, let's make another thing called, I'm going to say a float. Is a float a variable? I mean, a type? Float, we'll say my number, right? We'll say we'll start it off with 0 as a default. And now we're going to say something like system.out.print rate this program from 1 to 10, right? There we go. And then I'll say my number, right, is equal to input dot next float, right? That's what I want to do. And then system dot out dot printf. Here's something I want to do. Your rating is, I do %f, maybe for float. And then comma, you know, my number. Does that make sense? Right, so I've done that. Another little thing. Let's add in there a system.out.println that's empty, so I can do that too, right? What does that do? Just adds space, right? There's like a right line that's empty, right? System.out.println, right? That's kind of made a space between the two statements, right? Let's try that out, right? So I'm going to run it. Hello world. Your name is Tom. Okay, my name is Tom. What's your rating from 1 to 10? Uh-oh. I have to click on that. That's something went wrong there. But let's try it out. My rating is 5.5. And now I got a problem, right? How come I got this? Your rating is 5.5. Well, because I didn't tell my formatting what to do, right? Because my %f is here. How do I format my %f? Would I put it before or after? Is it after? Tell me what to do. Tell me. Tell me what to type exactly. %f point something? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay. Maybe, yeah, put that in my code.
Google it, man. Google it. If you don't know how to do it, Google it. We're going to Google in this class, all right? Tell me. I want to make it so that it has 2 decimal places. Yes? %2f. Okay, let's try that out. Let's try if it's %2f. And let's run that whole process again. And there's a bit of a problem. I got this thing where I say my print, and then I print again. I print f, and then I go to the next line. This print line here, take me to the next line, kind of. But it didn't separate didn't separate anything here. What happened? Like I was expecting it to separate my 2 statements. How come? Right? How about we added another backslash character in there as well? How about that? So backslash n, see what it does there. Or maybe it gives me another little layer of separation from the 2. And let's try that again. So my name, and doesn't do it. It gives me some weird, oh, did I do it right? Man.
Oh, that's right.
There it is. Oh, look where my cursor is. My cursor's flashing all the way up here. How come it's not here and not there? Shouldn't have to click anywhere. It should take you there, right? So maybe there's a problem here. I want you guys to figure it out. So my rating is 5.5, and now I get 5.5000. What happened to my formatting? I thought you guys were format experts. Come on. 0.2F?
Yeah.
Okay, let's save it and run it. And let's try this out again, Tom. And I go over here. We still got a problem, 5.5, and then I get 5.50. This is good. So I got this is my formatting that I'm doing here right now for numbers. How do I get myself to the proper line? Is it maybe this next line that I'm having a problem with? What if I just put next, like I did one of these, right? And I ran that. Maybe that's the problem. So I go Tom, and then my name is Tom, but I'm still over here, way over here. Well, something's wrong. And then 5.5. How come? Right? So these are the things to note, guys. I mean, you know, the thing what happens when I do my system.outs and when I do my inputs, certain things happen that that I'm waiting for, and we're going to talk about how do we do console stuff a little bit more carefully than what we've done. I want you to think about this though, because we're getting some weird results. Again, we're able to enter string characters as well as numeric characters that are floats, which is good, right? Is there a decimal in Java? A decimal data type? Double, yeah. But is there a decimal data type in Java?
Oh.
Decimal.
That's
Wait.
that's a C.
How about decimal? My decimal is equal to 0.0. How come? I go here and I hover over and it says, oh, create class decimal. That means it doesn't exist. How about if I put lowercase d? So decimal, like in C#, right? I'm just putting it out there. I'm talking about differences here. Create class decimal doesn't exist. Double, though, if I go double, right? Double precision floating point number. That's what it does. Don't really need it in this case, but double exists, float exists. So some variations in terms of data types that we're going to see. So don't try and use decimal, and some of the stuff that might work in C# may not work here. Okay. But you guys know C#, so this stuff is not so far away. Okay. All right, a couple more slides here, and then we're done. And I'm going to say a couple more slides. Really, there is, because we're talking about arithmetic here, which we're not going to go through. Here's some examples of %d as a placeholder with an integer value for instead of an I. It's not %i, it's %d for an integer. We're not going to talk too much about memory concepts or arithmetic, subtraction, addition, multiplication, and division. And the order of precedence is the same as in C#, and the same thing goes with our relational operators. They're exactly the same. Okay, so there's no difference there. It's not like you don't know things. Okay, and here they are. They're all the exact same if you look at them, because they're all. It's a C-influenced language. So I'm not going to go too much into more detail here for today. Okay, I'm going to stop the presentation here, but I want to talk about one other concept. So now I've got my little fancy program here, right? And I want to share it with the world, right? So now this is the next step. This is a really important piece. I want to share it with GitHub, and you want to see my code, the stuff that we've worked on. How do I do that, right? Well, there's a couple steps. One, you need to sign up for a GitHub account, right? So let's go up to GitHub. I go to GitHub. I have a GitHub account, right? I have my own personal account as well as Centennial College. Huh? I stole the Centennial College GitHub account. That's right. If you notice, it's an organization. Yeah, baby. Right? So I've created an organization called Centennial College. I'm going to create a new repository for this organization. And my new repository in here is going to be called COMP228, right? Which is what it is. And it's lesson 1, right? That's my new repository, right? I'm going to create my repository here. Okay, so here it is. Here's my new repo that's up in GitHub. And look, it gives you the command line for what to do. Now, whether you're using Windows or whether you're using Mac, these sets of commands are identical on the command line. Let's do it. So I'm going to pull up a terminal on the Mac, right? Now I got to swim to the location of where I have my courses. In there, I'm going to kind of do an ls to see what my is. And on the Windows machine, it's a vir, unless you're using PowerShell. If I go to courses, and inside courses, I'm going to swim to COMP228. Here it is. And inside there, if I go into courses, I have something called workspace. Let's go to workspace. So I'm in my workspace here. And you know what? I want to go into let's just see something here. So I've got a couple of things here. I've got my lessons. I got Pythonic 2. I got my test project. I got, where's my stuff, man? Huh? I don't understand. I just created this workspace stuff. How come it's pointing to this odd place? And it says lessons, but where does my project lie? How come I can't see it? Well, it lies back in the fact that I got to look at my Eclipse and where my Eclipse workspace points to. So if I go to switch workspace, if I go to what my workspace is currently, right? If you notice there's two workspaces, I didn't accept my other one. One of them is users, Thomas, documents, workspace, Android, and the other one is users, Thomas, documents, workspace. And that's the one I want, users, Thomas, documents, workspace. I'm not sure why it didn't create the one that I wanted, but that's where I have to go. Right? It's very key because if you don't do that, then it's not going to give you the right place. So I'm going to go back. So users Thomas, right? And then documents, and then workspace. Right. Now let's see what I got. Same thing. Right? How come I can't find my project? Like, where's my project exist? I'm showing you this because you might have the same thing. You might try doing the same thing, trying to find out where this stuff is, and you're like, hey, where is everything? Let's go into lessons. Maybe it's in there. Well, no, that's weird. I've got my lessons, but create this demo. I don't understand there. And where's my workspace? Well, I wanted to show you this only because you guys would have tried this on your own, and then you're like, but Tom said, right, we can go into the workspace and do this kind of stuff, and there should be no problem, right? Well, the thing is, on the Mac, I should have these two lessons, COMP228 lesson 1, right? And I should be able to point to my workspace wherever this stuff is, right? So how do I get to where these objects are? Well, if you do a properties on your project, it tells you where it is. It says comp users Thomas courses COMP228, and then in caps workspace, and in caps COMP228 lesson 1. That's where it is. It actually physically is there. So if I was to take this whole thing, this whole line, go back into my terminal window, and it might be similar for the PC, and go CD, enter, right? It says no such file directly. How come? Because it's got to be in brackets, right? Now I have two things, my bin and my source. I go into my source file where I have my Java. Here's my hello world. Now I don't want to go there for my repository. I need to put it somewhere where I can encapsulate my whole lesson. And if you notice, if I go up one, I'm in my workspace. I want to create a Git repository for my COMP228 lesson 1. So that's the repository that I want to have my Git repository. I want to identify it as a Git repo first. So I want to go back in there, and I want to say git init. That's the first command you're going to learn, right? So git init. I've initialized my Git repo. Okay, it's the same command on the PC, right? Git add dot, which adds everything into my Git repo. Now I'm going to go git commit. We're going to talk about this again. -m initial commit. Okay, here's all the stuff I'm adding in there, right? And now, going back to my Git library, it tells me what to put in there. I've done all this. I didn't add a README yet. I'm not going to add that in right now. But it does this. It gives me a couple more commands here. So I'm just going to copy this command, git remote add, right? Because I don't have to type it. It's right there. Go back to my terminal, put it in, press enter. And now I can just go git push minus u, origin, master. When I do that, if I've connected everything properly, pushes up my repo to here. So now if you want to find me, go find me. Go to github.com, go to Tsiopoulos, my last name, right? And if you notice, under here I have an organization that I created. But this one here, if you notice, went under my name, not my organization, right? How do I create this under the organization? I'm gonna go back out. I'm gonna go back to GitHub for a second. And if you notice, right now I'm sitting here as me, right? And if I go into me as Centennial College, it says Tsiopoulos pushed to master at Centennial College, COMP228. That was way long ago. Now it says is now. Oh, that's way back. That's 20 days ago. But I didn't really push anything in there. I could always view Centennial College. This is me. This is my repositories, and I can add a repository. See, I didn't do it right. Okay. But what I have done is I've created a repo. If you want to go back in there and check me, if you want to look for me on GitHub, you can look for me with my last name. So if I go to Tsiopoulos, right, there it is. And my last repository that I made was COMP228 lesson 01, about a minute ago. Okay, now if you look there, you can see all the files. I have two things, a bin, which is my Hello World class, and my source, which is my Hello World Java with all my details. It's up online. We're going to talk about GitHub, right, again, and how to incorporate it into Eclipse, right? Because right now we've done it through command line. How do I do it through Eclipse like we did with Visual Studio, for those of you who did it with me in Visual Studio, right? Because our Git repository is going to be important for us to understand how to share files and our code with each other as we go forward. Okay, so more to come on Git, and we'll do it properly next time, right? I'll fork it right now for me, just for temporarily. I'm going to fork my repository from me. I'm going to fork it into the Centennial College one. So here's one to do. Let me go back into my profile here. So I'm going to go back out. And I'm going to go in as Centennial College, right? And what I'm going to do is, if I want to fork a repository, I can certainly do that, right, by creating a fork. So if I go, if you notice, there's a bunch of different forks there, right? Here's the different forks I've made. I could do, create a fork or whatever, and that's what I'm going to do in here with my new repository, right? Don't worry about it now. You might like, what the hell is he doing, right? Trust me, it won't be as hard as it looks, right? It's not really hard at all, actually. Okay. So we'll go in there and do that soon. But I've created some repos already, right? So you can kind of look and stuff to see things. If you look for Centennial College with the capital C, Centennial College, you'll see some repos that I've already created in there. And we're going to make some new ones together. All right. That's it really for me for today. Let's get together next week on, I believe we'll get together for Tuesday again. I want to see how these recordings went. And if the recordings went really, really well, then we'll think about how we're going to broadcast stuff and what's the hour that I'm going to broadcast and how am I going to save stuff and what kind of information are we going to do at this hour compared to the normal hour at 10:30 in the morning. Thanks very much and see you next week. Now let's see if I can stop this puppy before it blows up.